So let's talk about that strange kind of exhaustion that shows up even when you're doing everything right. You've said no to distractions, you've simplified, you've prioritized, you're focused, and somehow it still feels like you're dragging the wagon through the mud. Why does it feel so heavy even after you've done all that work? Well, I have this photo of my daughter at a pumpkin patch. She's maybe 3 years old, determined, and pulling this little red wagon behind her. And there's only a few pumpkins in it. And more than that, she's gone through the whole pumpkin patch and was selective, right? She chose just what mattered. She prioritized, she focused, and still the wagon is just too heavy for her to pull. And that is every product leader I coach. You've already said no to most things. You've cut the scope, you've prioritized, you've focused, and still you're exhausted. And the real question isn't, how do I focus more? It's, why does this still feel so heavy? So every productivity framework tells you to do basically one thing. Do less, focus on what matters, just pick the key things you're going to do each day. And you did, but even just say 3 critical initiatives can feel too heavy when you're the only one pulling. And the problem isn't how many things you've loaded into your wagon, it's that you're pulling it all alone. So let's look at what's really in the wagon. It's not just these big tasks you thought you were going to be focused on. There's things like you're carrying the strategic weight of the company, the long-term vision of where you're headed, that you feels like you're the only one who can really articulate that well. And the market positioning that only you understand, or the company direction that only you can connect the day-to-day work with. You're also carrying all of the decision weight, the things that you must decide on, the priority calls, the trade-offs, the approvals, the things that feel like they need you and your insight in order to make those decisions. There's also relationship weight, managing stakeholders that depends on your credibility, cross-functional alignment that needs you to kind of bring all that history together in your diplomacy, and the executive updates that require your translation of what they want to hear versus what you've promised and all the backstory that goes with that. And finally, add in the people weight, the team development that depends on your experience, performance issues that only you have the authority to address, and the hiring decisions that you want to weigh on and need your vision. And so since you've already cut all the nice to haves before that, and you have all these are essential, and it's all too heavy. So I say the problem isn't actually your workload. It's that you've built a system where everything depends on you. You join meetings because they won't have the context. You review the big decisions because they need that full picture. And you manage the conflicts because they don't understand the history. You have become the context keeper. And the irony is, the better you do, the more you do, the higher you rise, the more you are going to fall into this. Success means more strategic initiatives, more decisions, more stakeholders, more context, and all of it lives in your head. And you can't focus your way out of that. You can't time manage your way out of that. And you clearly can't just simply work harder to get out of this. So ask this. This is one question to kind of sit with. How much of your week is spent doing work that only you can do? And if you're like most leaders, the truth is probably the work only you can do is 20%. The other 80% someone else could do if, and only if, they had that strategic context that you've been keeping. The frameworks that you use to make decisions instinctively, sharing those. If they had the confidence from them, feeling as if they had the real authority to do that, and the relationships that you've built over time. But they don't have these things because you've never built the systems to give them access to it. That's why you're tired, not because you're doing too much, because you're doing too much alone. So, what we want to do is get you to stop being the solo person pulling this wagon and instead strategically multiply yourself. Extend what you can do into your team. And you don't do that by delegating more tasks. You do that by delegating the context. And I'm going to walk you through what that looks like in practice. So, going back to our analogy, right now you're picking the pumpkins, loading the wagon, pulling the wagon, and doing it all alone. And so you want to start off by having someone else load the wagon, saying things like, hey, take these 3 initiatives and build project plans. And so they're beginning to execute, but unfortunately, you're still carrying the strategic weight. And that's just simply delegating tasks, telling people to do something. Instead, you want them to help choose which are the things to load into the cart, right? Which are those pumpkins? You might say, we need to solve for customer retention. Here are 5 approaches. Analyze and recommend what we should do, right? They're now learning judgment. You're passing that along. You're still the safety net, but you're not the one choosing what to do next at every step along the way. And eventually, they'll be the ones pulling the wagon. You can say things like, okay, now you own the mobile experience, for example. The decisions you need to make, keep me posted on the major changes. Now they're the ones pulling the strategic weight in their domain. And then fully out, kind of on the other side of this is they're going to take what you've shown them and extend it. And that's when you are learning from them. And that's really when leadership is multiplying strategically. They're making you smarter and things begin to scale. So, if your wagon feels too heavy right now, remember this. You don't need a lighter wagon. You need more people who can pull. Because leadership isn't about pulling more weight yourself. It's about building the systems, the trust, and the confidence so others can share it. And I keep coming back to that picture of my daughter pulling the wagon when she was so small. And she's pulling it with everything she's got. And what you can't see in that picture, though, is that I'm standing right beside her, right just a few steps behind, ready to step in and grab the handle when she gets tired or when she needs help. And that's what real leadership looks like too. Not one person pulling harder, but a team learning how to all pull together, backing each other up and helping each other out. So my full-on message here is stop pulling alone.